Today, we have Jeremy Shepherd, who's Director of Select Residential Property and founder of DSR Data. What are significant urban areas for our viewers out there that might not know?
The Australian Bureau of Statistics define a significant urban area. It has a population of at least 10,000. There are, I think, 101 significant urban areas around the country. Sydney is the largest with a population of over 4 million. And I think it's Kingaroy in Queensland that has a population of just over 10,000. So the ABS set the limit to a population of 10,000. It might not be a city. For example, Gold Coast Tweed Heads includes Tweed Heads. You've got Canberra Queanbeyan, which crosses state boundaries as well. You've got the Newcastle Maitland area is a significant urban area. So it's not necessarily just a city, but they try and clump together a whole bunch of suburbs where there's a concentration of population. And that's when I'm talking about this diversity of economic diversity. You should probably target significant urban areas that have a population in the tens of thousands, rather than just an isolated one-off regional town, which might only have agriculture as its only industry, and there's a flood that devastates that market, or a drought. So you do want some economic diversity just to avoid that risk.
And in these significant urban areas, is there ever a time where you see double-digit growth?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So that article that I published the other week, loads of significant urban areas where the entire city has had double-digit growth. These circumstances have happened plenty of times in the past. Even if you just limit your search to the big five, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide, there are still plenty of occasions where those markets have had double-digit growth, and even in some extreme cases, 20% growth. So just going regional doesn't mean you miss out on that, and going big like Sydney or Melbourne doesn't mean you miss out on that. It really just comes down to supply and demand.
And how do you pick up these significant urban areas? How do you find those double-digit growth areas?
Well, I prefer to actually look for individual suburbs, and then if I notice that there's a lot of these high demand, low supply suburbs in the same city, then that confirms to me that I'm looking in the right place. So yeah, we've got a website, dsrdata.com.au, and it scores every property market around the country for its potential for capital growth by this demand to supply ratio. And if you notice that there's a lot of suburbs with high demand relative to supply in the same city, then it just gives you greater confidence that you're in the right ballpark. That's a good place to invest. And right now, there aren't so many whole cities, certainly not big cities, that are looking that fantastic, but there are plenty of regional markets and isolated suburbs within these cities that are still very hot. For example, Adelaide, the city as a whole is probably not looking too attractive right now, but there are markets towards the northeast which are still having significant capital growth right now. And they are still running their course. It's that ripple effect. Perth has got some great opportunities in a couple of isolated spots there. Even Darwin has started to show a bit of a pulse. At least it's not a hot market, but it's at least breathing now. Bundaberg's a great market at the moment. High demand relative to supply. Great rental yields and affordable prices. There are opportunities all around the country, and historically that has always been the case. Regardless of whether we are in the middle of a correction or not, there are always opportunities for property investors.
So how would investors out there that might be sitting on the sidelines waiting for the right timing, you mentioned that there's always the right time, how would they use DSR data to their advantage?
Oh, you jump into DSR data, there's a tool there called the Market Matcher. You just put in your budget. Let's say you've got your mortgage broker has told you, look, you can target properties of up to $500,000. You put that in there as your limit. You put in a limit for your yield, and it searches the Australian property database looking for suburbs and sorts them from demand to supply ratio from the highest to the lowest. And then you start your deeper dive into those suburbs, doing more analysis, looking at charts and other metrics. And then it's a case of either paying a visit or hiring a buyer's agent to do that for you.
Excellent. And Jeremy, did you have any final thoughts for our viewers or anything that you can think of?
Just that despite all the negativity in the media, there's no reason why property investors should be frightened. Even if you make a mistake with your first purchase, if time is on your side, you'll be fine. And I would say that if you can do just a small amount of research, you are probably miles in front of most investors who will receive a glossy brochure from a developer and buy some new unit or house and land package. If you can just look at something as simple as a demand to supply ratio, you'll be much better off. It's a very healthy safety net.
And if our viewers want to get in touch, how can they find you?
You can send me an email, jeremy@dsrdata.com.au.
And also, if they want to find more information on DSR Data, is it dsrdata.com.au?
Yep, that's the one.
Thanks so much, Jeremy.
Thank you. Hey, thanks very much for having me on your show.
That's all right. I'll just press stop. One sec.